The Dummy M Podcast. Find us on Instagram and YouTube.
Well, you and I are both huge fans of the UFC, and we have watched this gentleman fight on the big screen a number of times. We are joined by what we believe was the first Australian in the UFC, Mr. Elvis Sinosic. How are you, buddy?
Hey guys, B-Row T-Dog, good to hear from you. Thanks for giving me a call.
Mate, you were known for dyeing your hair different styles when you were an athlete. Do you think maybe you missed your calling and you should have been an NRL player instead?
Well, my only issue with that is I don't like playing with balls, so that kind of cut me out of it there.
Elvis, not only were I believe you the first Australian UFC fighter, I actually think you might have been on the first ever Australian mixed martial arts fight ever in Australia. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I have a fairly long history in the sport, and I've been lucky to have achieved a lot of firsts. I've become a pioneer of not just MMA, but even jiu-jitsu and grappling here in Australia. As you mentioned, I competed in the first professional MMA event here in Australia. Back then it was called the Australasian UFC, later rebranded to Caged Combat 1 due to legal issues with the real UFC. I competed in the first Australian-only MMA event, which was called the Valle Tudo Open. So I was the first Australian heavyweight champion.
Wow.
I was the first Australian to fight in the UFC 30 against Jeremy Horn. I was the first Australian to fight for a world title. I fought Tito Ortiz for the UFC light heavyweight title. Sadly, didn't become the first Australian champion, but was almost there. I won the first Australian Pan-Pacific BJJ Absolute Championships. I was the first Australian to compete in the ADCC World Submission Wrestling Championships, and I was the first person in the world to win with a heel hook submission in ADCC history as well. Plus, there's numerous other pioneering accolades along the way. I'm sure if people are familiar with me, they can look it up. If not, pretty easy to find on the internet nowadays.
I remember you telling me once that you actually have an IT degree, that you're actually a computer geek as well. So you're probably the first computer geek never to get a wedgie too.
I also used to market myself as the world's toughest nerd when I used to fight in the UFC.
The Dummy M Podcast. Find us on Instagram and YouTube.